Hi there, I'm Suzette Kroll, registered dietitian. I'm your personal nutrition guide. In today's session, we're going to talk about emotional eating, also known as stress eating, and we're going to talk about how to satisfy the most common food cravings that we all have for sugar, sweets, carbohydrates, and salty foods. Stress eating is one of the most difficult areas of weight management. It's one thing to control physical hunger, and it's another thing altogether to control emotional hunger. But we have to deal with both. Controlling stress eating or emotional eating starts with caring for your physical needs. That's because a hydrated and well-fed body is much better prepared to fight off the emotional triggers to eat. So we need to make sure that we're hydrating and eating regularly. So remember, 64 ounces of fluid a day at minimum, and eat regular meals morning, noon, and night. Avoid skipping meals. Avoid getting overly hungry. We've talked about this before. The next thing you need to do in controlling emotional eating is to identify the triggers that cause it in the first place. So what triggers send you to food? Do you know? Is it how your day is going? If you're having a good day, do you eat? If you're having a bad day, do you eat more? Is it the environment? Is it what other people are eating? Are you triggered when you see a TV commercial? If you're on Pinterest, maybe looking for healthy recipes and a bunch of dessert recipes pop up, does that send you to the sweets? Is it your relationship? If it's going good or bad, does that send you to food? The best thing you can ever do is become a self-detective. Get to know yourself and why you do the things you do. The best way to do that is to keep a food record. So for the next 1 to 2 weeks, try this. Keep a food record, not necessarily of what you eat, but why you eat. Every time you put something in your mouth, record why you're doing it. Are you physically hungry? Are you overly hungry? Are you tired or angry? Are you overwhelmed or overworked? Are you using food as a reward for something? Did the sight of food trigger you to eat, or the smell of food trigger you to eat it? Or are you just eating because other people are eating? Know yourself well, and then you can begin to change your responses. The first step in changing is awareness, and a food record is the best way, again, to learn about yourself and get some data and become a self-detective. You also want to identify what the trigger foods are. Trigger foods are the ones that you have trouble saying no to, or the ones that you typically run to when you're having that bad day or overwhelmed, overworked, whatever your particular trigger is. For most people, or many people, it's chocolate or sweets. It could be peanut butter. It could be salty, crunchy foods like potato chips or tortilla chips. What are your trigger foods? Once you know what they are, get rid of them. If it's impossible to get rid of them because other people in your house are still going to eat them, at least get them out of sight. You can use a separate cabinet for these kind of foods, or if you keep them on the counter, at least keep them in a covered container. You might know that they're there, but when they're out of sight, they're going to be more out of mind. So, care for your physical needs. Remember, hydrate and fuel properly. Identify the triggers that send you to food, the situations, and the foods themselves. And then we can start a new response to these triggers with what's called a 3-30-3 response, or 3-30-3 lists. So this approach is thanks to bariatric psychologist Jim Killer. When you get home, get out a piece of paper and make 3 columns on it and write 3, 30, and 3 at the top of each column. In the first column, write down 3-minute non-food related activities that you could do in response to stress. These are good for use at work. For example, a 3-minute walk outside, or maybe get some calming scented lotion that you could put on your hands and that the smell of it calms you down. You could take 3 minutes to read a quick blog or to write in a journal. So this would be useful, for example, if you get a nasty email at work from somebody. Instead of running to the break room, you could simply go to your drawer, pull out that scented lotion, and take a few minutes to put the lotion on and smell the smell that calms you down. You get the idea. The second column is a 30-minute column. These would be good things that you could use at night. In 30 minutes, maybe when you're bored at night and aren't sure what to do but don't want to go to bed yet. So in 30 minutes, you could call a friend, maybe reorganize a drawer, take a walk around the block, go to the gym, or maybe go for a bike ride. You get the idea. And that third column is for 3-hour non-food related activities. These would be good for weekends. A lot of times we look forward to the weekend, we're gonna relax and have fun, but we wind up staying at home and maybe grazing all day or binging, and then we feel really bad about it. So this column, the 3-hour column, is really a list of what you want to do with your free time. Maybe you could take a day trip, or start a garden, or take a community class. This is really about, again, what you want to do with your time. At the end of life, it's going to be all about the experiences you had, not about the food that you eat. So make your 3 lists, 3, 30, and 3. What can you do for 3 minutes, 30 minutes, or 3 hours to fill in your time with non-food related activities? Now that's plan A, to be able to identify the stress triggers and to stave them off with something that's not food related. Plan B would be to satisfy the cravings with maybe just healthier foods. So we all have these common cravings for sweets and carbs and salty foods. Let's talk about each one. We've seen this before. Satisfy your sweet cravings or cravings for sugar with fruit. Anytime you crave something sweet, simply eat a piece of fruit. Any fruit is fine. And you can make fruits seem more like desserts by freezing them. That example of frozen grapes or frozen banana slices. You can puree berries and put them in popsicle molds or Dixie cups and eat them like popsicles. Or you just eat a banana. We're not worried about the banana. It's the banana split we don't want to have. Nice cream is a very searchable term online. It's a way to make the texture of ice cream from frozen bananas and other fruits. And Greek yogurt bark is one of my favorites, just blending plain Greek yogurt with berries and freeze it. You can use Pinterest or just a general Google search to get some ideas. Now there's a lot of sugar-free products out there, sugar-free popsicles, sugar-free Jell-O pudding cups and such. Is it fine to use these for sugar cravings? My suggestion is no. Try to use the fruit instead, because these sugar-free products, they have artificial sweeteners in them, and artificial sweeteners are hundreds of times sweeter than sugar. So they condition your tongue to want something very, very sweet, and they also interfere with the normal hormonal balance and how hormones regulate your body. So the best thing is to really just use fruit to satisfy the sweet cravings, and it'll take a while to deregulate the desire for the really, really sweet foods. But eventually fruit will be enough. So instead of just picking something because it's low calories as a sweet or doesn't have sugar to satisfy your sweet cravings, pick something because it has something good for you. So we've talked about this before, to avoid using calories or lack of calories as the sole criteria for picking a food, and choosing foods for what they have rather for what they don't have. So with the fruit, again, it has fiber and water. You've seen this before. It has antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals, and it's really going to fill you up. Any fresh fruit is fine, just not dried fruit or fruit juice. The carb cravings, we've talked about this before. Use those Veggie Swaps. If you haven't really gotten good at them, here's another chance. Instead of bread, pizza crust, pasta, and rice, try to use vegetables instead. Use lettuce leaves for your sandwiches, vegetables for pizza crusts, veggie spirals for your pasta, and the riced cauliflower for the rice. For salt cravings, you can eat foods like pickles or any pickled vegetable like pickled green beans or pickled beets, pickled okra. Carrots and hummus is a good one, or cucumber slices dipped in salsa. My suggestion is to have in mind always 1 or 2 options that you're going to use to satisfy your cravings. So it's always at the forefront of your mind. When I crave something sweet, I'm going to have fruit. When I crave pizza, I'm going to have a bell pepper pizza, or I'm going to get a cauliflower crust pizza. When I have a salt craving, I'm going to eat a pickle, or I'm going to eat cucumbers and salsa. So you just always have it in mind. I'm going to pick this or that. Focus on what you're going to eat, what you're not going to eat, thereby improving diet by addition versus subtraction. Okay, so for your goals from this session to the next one are going to be to try to manage this stress eating and emotional eating By caring for your physical needs first and foremost, make sure you're hydrating and fueling properly, identify the triggers that send you to food, and make those lists, the 3, 30, and 3 lists, the 3-minute, 30-minute, and 3-hour lists, so that you have alternatives to stress eating. And learn to satisfy your cravings in a new way for sweets, carbohydrate foods, and salty foods. Remember to have 1 or 2 options in mind all the time. Have a great month. I'll see you next time. I'm Suzette Kroll, registered dietitian. I'm your personal nutrition guide. See you next time.